Hi everyone, Reverend Dr. Katie here. I hope you are doing just fantastic. And I'm here today to talk about a really specific problem, especially for those of you, which is everyone, who is on the go, who is juggling home, work, lots of different demands on your time, on your energy, and putting your spirituality into the mix can sometimes feel like you're on kind of emotional and spiritual overload. So, what do we do when our friends, our family, however it is that you define that in your life, when they're not enough? Because this is the myth, right? The myth is that when we find that one person, for those of you that have children or your grandchildren or your BFFs or your partner or whomever, right? The myth is that when we find those people in life, we will be utterly fulfilled. We'll be content. Like everything else will fall into place. We'll have everything we ever wanted. But the reality is that that's putting a lot of pressure on other people to fulfill our deepest desires. And the truth is, no one can do that. No matter how awesome they are, that's too big of a job for absolutely anyone else to fill for you. And it's too much of a job for you to fill for someone else, right? Like, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know about all of you, but I have had people in my life that have expected me to fill every single gap that they ever have, emotionally, spiritually, etc. And I'm one person. I can't possibly do that. So when that happens and we're buying into the myth, which we all do at some point in time, right? But when we kind of buy into that myth that other people can make us happy, that they can fulfill the deepest yearnings within ourselves, what ends up happening when they don't do that, right? We get a little snappy. We get maybe a little irritated at them or at ourselves. We're not quite sure how to proceed or what to do. But I think the truth is actually much deeper and potentially much more fulfilling, which is that when we can tap into our own inner wisdom and our own spiritual lives, so it's so much more promising. We're not relying on anyone else, and then we can accept and love those people for exactly who they are without what they can do to make us utterly content, because it's just not possible. And so, what are the consequences of not doing this, of having that really deep yearning space within our own lives, of having not knowing what those next steps are, especially around metaphysics, especially around really engaging the energetic, intuitive world in deep and fulfilling ways? Well, some of those consequences are that we have deep spaces within our hearts, within our soul space, that feels always yearning. I describe it as feeling cavernous. When I'm always searching in the wrong space, it is like I'm going on a cave, like I'm spelunking in a cave that's really scary, and I don't know which route to take. Do I take it towards person A, B, C, D? Well, actually, none of those are the right route to take because they're not going to my own inner heart. And so when I can actually dive into my own inner heart, some of that cavernous space, all of that cavernous space gets filled because I'm actually filling it with the source of energy that never ends. And as metaphysical Christians, we know in our head that that never-ending source is God made manifest in the life and ministry and death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. But when we don't engage our full potential and our full metaphysical selves, it can always feel very unfulfilled. And then that turns into a kind of spiral. And I know many of you probably have, or maybe even right now are experiencing this, where when that's not fulfilled, we keep on searching in other places to have it be filled, whether it's approval, whether it's in the actions or inactions of someone else, or we fall into bad patterns, unhealthy patterns with those that we love the most, because they're right there and they're the ones that can receive some of our angst. But when we can take that inward journey, we're always going to be deeply fulfilled in our spiritual journey because there's always going to be that presence that is with us. So when we can open up and really do some of the untangling of some of the past, the old stories of maybe some of the things that don't serve us, we can get rid of those. We can go on that own energetic journey. then we have this deep space that is always fulfilled. And then we know the right actions, steps, words with all of those in our life whom we are meant to be with in relationship. And those relationships can become much more fulfilling. So I hope this makes sense. Tell me if this describes you. If you have any questions, just write them in the chat box. Be sure to tag me. So I'll be sure to see those. So if this does describe you and you're having that deep desire within your own life, let me invite you to consider joining us on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'm offering a free training called Bridge the Gap, where we're going to talk about what is the gap between you and the spiritual, metaphysical Christian life that you 100% deserve. So I'd love to guide you on this journey. We had one not too long ago, and it was really, really fun. And everyone told me at the end of the training, they were like, "Oh yeah, I got my gap. I know what it is," so that they can begin to take the appropriate steps to fill that. So this deep yearning within the heart space of maybe expecting other people to fulfill or work even to fulfill that thing within us that is actually can't be fulfilled by anyone else, then that's a symptom, maybe a symptom that this you've been looking in the wrong places because society tells us that that's what should fulfill us. And what I want to invite you to do is to look into your own inner wisdom space to see what's there. And that's what I'm going to help you do on in the training. So let me know if you have any questions, any comments, any ahas or resonances. Just type those into the chat box. I will see everyone really soon.